So, the title of today's conversation and topic, I have decided to call it the perfection of memory loss, of dementia, of Alzheimer's disease. And before that might trigger you to say that, before you start making judgments on where you might think this is going, whether or not you might be experiencing those symptoms, whether or not you know someone, a loved one, a family member, I'm here to share today something that I've had this conversation privately with a few different people in my book club, some family members. This topic is near and dear to my heart because these things labeled by society run in our family, in my wife's family, and it's something that is very prevalent in society. And I feel like in quite a few different meditations I've had some downloads. I've had some things come to me that I think it's time to share. And essentially, what I would want to share with you is that these things of memory loss and dementia, this disease, is something that we don't really have a grasp on medically. They have done all kinds of studies. They've looked for cures. There's all kinds of of supplements and vitamins and pharmaceuticals to slow it down. Yet, I don't know if anybody would say, "Hey, I've figured this out. This is what works." And what I would like to put out there, what I would like to share that has come to me, is that these things, like so many other things in life, are the natural process of what we call life, okay? And unfortunately, what happens is we judge and we look at it of how it's supposed to look, what's supposed to be right or wrong. And so when these things that we don't understand and that make us uncomfortable and that we think make us sad occur in ourselves or other people, we put these labels on it. And we put these stigmas on it. And then based on the past, of seeing other people go through it or what has happened in the past, then we have this, projection for the future of this is how it's going to go. This is what it means. This is what it looks like, right? And what I would like to offer today is a different perception of this topic. So, A Course in Miracles defines a miracle as a change in perception. And ultimately, what it teaches is that we think we know. We label these things. We judge these things. We have a story about these things. And we put a name to it. And it's all based on the past. And we really don't know what any of these things are. And yet, our beliefs then dictate our meaning around it, and then kind of the cause and effect of what happens with that. And so on this topic of memory loss, and I know all three of these things are different, I know that, but I'm jumbling them together, that we label it as suffering. We label it as not fun. We label it as something we would want to avoid and not have happen to us, right? Yet, what about this? And this is what was given to me. When we have memory loss in any form, okay, and especially as we progress in life and get older, because that usually is what's happening. I believe, and what I've been told, is that this is us returning to source, leaving this 3D physical realm, leaving behind the past in a very slow process that shows up as memory loss. It shows up as a disease. It shows up as dementia, okay? And it's actually nature's perfection unfolding. Because we're slowly, if that happens, we're slowly letting go of the past. We're slowly forgetting the past in the form of memory. And that has a lot to do with like letting go of suffering, letting go of the hardships of life, of letting go of, um, you know, the things that were difficult to go through. And yes, on the flip side, that can be the memories of all the wonderful things too. But that's where the judgment comes in. Were the things that we labeled as wonderful, were they any more serving to us than the things that we labeled as suffering or as bad or as that we didn't really want to go through, right? And so what happens as we get older and it shows up as memory loss is we're allowing the process of perfection to unfold back towards source, back towards God, back towards truth to who we really are, which has absolutely nothing to do with this world. And it's a natural process. It's a, it's a wonderful thing if we want to look at it as this miraculous perfectionist thing. And the problem is whether it's happening to us, as that can seem scary because we don't know how to operate in that. But really, oftentimes, it's for the other people in our lives. We only know them as, how they're showing up in their current memory state. And we get to experience what I would call, oneness in action, the experience of oneness, that we're witnessing the dissolving of what is not the truth of somebody before they've left their body, and see them as truth, see them not as their memory, see them not as the past, see them in that moment, in that connection. And that's the thing, if you've been around people with memory loss of any kind, it's really it's in the moment. And sometimes there'll be stories or sharing something like, oh, I don't remember that. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if they remember that story. There's a letting go process. All that matters, I can get teary-eyed. So all that matters is when you talk to, anybody who is in this situation, or if you're going through it, all that matters is that moment right then, because that's all that's ever been real, right? So, it feels like loss when we maybe don't remember everything from our past. But I would say, it's nature's unfolding of slowly going back to source. And that's perfection if we can see that, if we can allow that, if we can know that without the hardship, without the suffering, without labeling it as something as bad, okay? So, I feel like, this vlog and what I'm about is teaching oneness. I want to live oneness. I want to be oneness, and that's like living the truth of who we really are and the experience of that. The knowledge of it, of knowing that we're not a body and we're having this physical experience, but like, how can we, have the both and, meaning that we understand that this is just temporary, that we are eternal, that there is no death, and therefore, step into our what's real, okay? And that we can be in our bodies, but not do the suffering with it. And this is one of those topics is dementia or memory loss or Alzheimer's disease, is that we can witness within ourselves if it's happening to us, and we can witness into other people, which is there's no separation. They are us, that there's healing that takes place. There is perfection unfolding if we allow it to unfold, if we choose to see it. So I would encourage you, if to really look at this moment, look at, how you've judged possibly, what's happening with you or what's happening with somebody else, and to know that you don't know, okay, that everything you think about it is not necessarily true, right? And to allow that process to unfold for that person that you think is different than you, but they are you. We are one. And there's just so much healing and miracles that can take place. And be with that. Be with that person, be with those thoughts, and open your mind up to this new perception. This letting go of what we would label as bad, and enjoy this moment, and get to have conversations. If it's you that feels maybe this is happening, letting go of like, hey, I don't need to talk about this past. I'm gonna live for now, right? It doesn't matter what happened 2 minutes ago or 20 years ago. And if you aren't experiencing this, but have some in your life, just be with them. Talk about now. Talk about what's going on right now. Be in that moment, because that's all that was real anyways, right? And there's just something sacred about this process. And almost, you could give me any subject and I could have you open your mind to a different perception of it. But with this topic, that there's nothing wrong with it. There's something sacred about it, even though it can be very painful, which I totally understand, and I'm not minimizing that. But what if we can take that pain and that suffering and find truth and change our minds and allow miracles to happen? What if? I'm going to say we can. So I've been wanting to share that for a while. I would love to hear, if you have an experience you want to share, if there's something that you have a question on this topic, please leave a comment. If you think this would help somebody, share this with them. Send them this video, because I feel like life is a reminder of the truth. That life, whether we label it as good or bad, everything is nudging you towards awakening, is nudging you towards the truth of who you really are, is nudging you towards oneness. And this topic would be the exact same thing. And when we can change our outlook, our perception, how we view it, how we label it, any stigma attached to it, and to understand that perfection is unfolding right here in this moment, then we don't need the suffering. We can be in the joy of this moment and allow the process of eternity, of truth, of love to unfold without any judgment. So, would love to hear from you on this. If you haven't come across this vlog before, I teach oneness and all kinds of different topics. I actually have a course coming up that I'm going to do, and I'll just say it verbally now. It's going to be free. I feel guided to do that in service. So I'm excited to be launching that. I don't know when it'll be. If you hear this and it's been a few weeks and it hasn't happened, comment, say, hey, Gavin, what's the course, right? So thank you so much for watching. Go have a conversation with somebody on this topic. How do you see perfection unfolding on this topic? How could you apply this to other areas that maybe aren't as representative to this topic, that you could allow the perfection to unfold for you, right? So for all of you going through this life and going through this topic, I send so much love. I send so much understanding and compassion. When I did my meditation this morning, it was really a heart-opening meditation. I did some Kundalini yoga, and my heart really opened up. And when I was meditating, this topic came up, and I was like, this is the day, this is the time to share. So much, much love. I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.